Okay, great. So we're recording now. So just, I know you haven't heard this before. The standard agreement, if it's okay with you, we'll plan to make this recording public. And if anything gets said during the recording that like, oh, I shouldn't have mentioned that person's name or something like that, let me know right then and I'll stop the recording and start another one. That'll make it really easy to cut off the end of that previous recording. And then, but if we make it all the way through without stopping, then we'll plan to make it all public. Does that work for you?
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And also, besides that, if at any point you're like, hey, I want to share some things, but not recording, we'll just pause and talk off camera and then come back when we're ready. And you can do that at any time. Sound good?
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just have to start with so great to connect with you,
Oh,
so long anticipated. I don't know if you know, your mom sent me a text that she might be a little late, so I don't know if you
yeah.
got the same message. So,
Yeah.
so we'll just, catch up until she gets here. But she's been sharing how extraordinary you are and, how you support people in the world for so long with me. Actually, it's been months now, many months since I've been hearing about you. So I'm really, really grateful that we're, connecting in this moment and that this is the perfect time for
It is.
everything, to come together like this.
It really is. It's divine timing. And it's just like when people are praying for something, essentially, right? Like they're calling on their spirit guides. They're saying, ancestors, support me. I want to put this greatness into the world, but I'm having some obstacles and I need community and I need collaboration and I need support, and it's like this whole, I don't know how you started your thought process and how, if it was a download that you received and then you ran with it in the 3D, I don't know, but I know a lot of people are calling this in. And so that's why I found so much resonance with it, where I said, oh, I need to connect with Jared. I need to be able to understand what Uniting in Action is all about and what the power, what the passion is behind it, so I can totally just integrate into it. And I want to support you. It's just really, it's great. It's right on time what you're doing.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you for sharing all of that. Yeah, I'll share a little bit of that background to give you a little bit more understanding of where it's come from
Yeah.
me, from my perspective. Um, I started having visions when I was a kid, to be honest with you. When I was a kid, I would have like futuristic visions, and I would see myself really being able to support having the world operate on a higher level, although my kid brain didn't really like understand like what that meant so much, is that I felt like I could help things be better on a really high level. And I was pretty much like a brainiac growing up. Like I was valedictorian of my high school, and I got the highest SAT score in the school, and just that like stuff came easy to me. Like I didn't even study for the SAT and just took it once, and it was the highest score in the school. So it was just like that was easy for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And um, and that was great that I had a mind that worked like at super high level. I ended up going into aerospace engineering. So that was my degree. And I went into it because at the time, and just to provide some context, you're too young to remember. I don't know if you've read about it, but um, I started college in 1987, which was when Ronald Reagan was president. And it was when one of his big initiatives was called Star Wars. It was to place satellites in space that could shoot down any Russian missiles as they were being launched. And if I don't know again whether this made it into your
I was
history,
born that year. I
what's
was,
that?
I was, I came Earthside that year.
That year? Very interesting. Very interesting. So, so the idea was that the United States was basically spending Russia into bankruptcy because Russia couldn't afford to get into that race with us. And so we were, going gung ho to build all this space defense that would then make it a one-sided nuclear thing. That's the thing. It's mutual destruction, right? But if the United States had the ability to defend itself and Russia didn't, it was a one-sided fight. Right. So it worked, because that's what ended up having Russia, just the Soviet Union, I should say, the Soviet Union dissolve and go into the member states, and the Berlin Wall came down and all that sort of stuff. And so that was a direct result of that policy. But so they were talking about like building colonies on the moon and stuff like that. And that's what I wanted to do. So I actually thought I'd be like a land developer on the moon, like literally that I would be building space colonies on the moon. So that's what I went into school for. But along the way, I just I got a little disenchanted with being an engineer. I imagined myself sitting in a booth working on one little component of one satellite that was going to take years to get somewhere. And I just couldn't imagine my life being like that. Mm-hmm. So that was when I realized, I had to take this somewhere else. And I went into computer training for a few years. I went into the nonprofit world. I won't get into all the twists and turns, but I raised a lot of money for the zoo in Seattle. I became the membership director of the zoo in Seattle, actually. So that was, a huge amount of experience for me in the nonprofit world. And I've sat on different boards and that sort of thing. Hey, Diane, great to have you here.
She's probably attaching her audio. It usually takes
getting the audio.
Yeah.
Hey, Diane.
Hi.
Great. Hey, guys.
Great to have you here.
Sorry I'm late.
No worries.
No worries at all. Just so you know, we're recording now with like the usual agreement that we'll plan to make it public. If anything gets said that shouldn't be public, let me know. We'll stop the recording right then. And if we go all the way through, we'll plan to make it public. So sound good? Sound good, Diane?
Yeah, sure. Now the whole world forevermore will know that I was late.
with good reason, no worries. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. I was sharing with Heather the some of the backstory of me and how all this came to be. And so I was just sharing my aerospace engineering background, which really is like, the way my mind works around all this, right? It's you can see the aerospace engineer in me and all the systems that I'm building, right? And even though I never went into the field, but that's just the way my mind was trained to work, right? And so, but to get to what you were saying, Heather, as I came out of school and was kind of working on finding my way, I was really going deep into like what my mission in the world is. I even did like a vision quest in the desert in Moab, Utah, where I went there for 10 days by myself, where I camped all alone and climbed the mountains and just, really was like, what am I here for? Right. Yeah. And I went and climbed up a mountain that was really challenging to climb up. So I knew that I was one of very few people that had ever stood on that spot. And I just imagined myself being a timeless being. I imagined myself if I had stood on that spot 10,000 years ago or 10,000 years from now, what would be the same within me? What is my essence of who I am in this world? And so this is kind of the beginning of my journeying into what you're seeing. And then I had this realization on 9/11 when I was live watching on TV as the Twin Towers were coming down. I happened to be watching TV that morning, like watching the Today Show or something like that. So I saw when they broke in and started the coverage, and I watched the whole thing. And as I'm watching for hours, all of this unfolding, and in the days afterwards, I was thinking to myself, wow, these people that did this, they planned for months and years, and there's a whole organization supporting them and all of this to do, to kill people, basically, right? And I'm like, so who in our world are the people that are that committed and that dedicated and committing their entire life to the opposite, to creating good and protecting people and protecting life and all of that. And that was when I kind of said, that's who I am. I'm here to be a warrior for humanity and for life, to protect and support and help it thrive, you know. And that was really where I got who I was at my essence. And then it became, okay, so how do I use my tools in order to carry out this essence of who I am, right? And knowing, you know, again, the system that I've built now, the reality generating machine system, the mission control, and we'll go into more details later, but the concepts of that, I've had that in my mind for more than 15 years. I've been imagining distilling reality down to the point that you could literally just push buttons and make reality happen. It was just that I hadn't figured out how to build all the tiny pieces of that machine in order to get it to work. So I understood conceptually, like what eventually we were working towards. I could see it on our evolutionary path. I just wasn't like, didn't get all the mechanics down yet. And the nano actions were the last missing piece that I came up with about a year ago or so, somewhere in that neighborhood. And that was like the fundamental building block upon which all of reality can be created. So we can treat each of these nano actions like Lego bricks, basically. We can take any intention that we want to accomplish, break it all down to its component nano actions, have a whole marketplace of people that are supporting getting each of those nano actions done. So you have the buyers and the sellers meeting each other at every single nano action, like a perfect capitalistic marketplace that gives you the range of, how fast will it get done? How much will it cost? What will the quality be? Those all become tuners that you tune in to your mission control. It's like, do I want it faster? Well, it's going to cost me that much more, or the quality, and so it lets you tune until you get all the variables exactly where you want it. And then you push your button and you say, make it so, commit my resources, let the money fly to these places to get all these things done to give me the reality that I want, right? So that's, again, been the concept and that I've been knowing we've been headed towards as a society. Now that we have the nano actions defined along with these other components that you've seen and that we'll talk about more, now it allows it to be a functional system. And now I can very clearly, exactly. Yeah, I've said a lot, so let me just take a pause and let you guys reflect.
It's a lot and it's amazing. And I'm glad that you have the brain that you have, because I couldn't create it, but I can understand what you're saying. I can visualize how this plays out and who this supports and how this fits in, for sure.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I really, really honor and appreciate that. So I'm going to give just a little bit more background, because then I really want to jump into where each of you are at in your process and really spend time, talking about how we can, synergize our energies on the highest level, how the tools can support what you guys are up to, all of those sorts of things. So just to kind of go back into it. So now we have this functional system. I also decided about a year and a half ago, I was following this paradigm. And also I want to directly answer what you asked about before in terms of like, did I get a download and just run with it? It's been like these series of insights, as you can see, that I've had throughout my life. It's been these feelings, but then these moments of clarity. It's like, oh, this is what all these feelings have meant. This is what I do with that, and oh, now this is what I do with that, and that's like the constant thing. Like I've been evolving. What you're seeing is like the 100th generation of evolution over the last 10 years, like every month or two, I'm like taking what's there, what was new and fresh last month, and figuring out what the next evolution of that is, and then figuring out what the next evolution. And that's why what you're seeing is such a leap from where we're at in our society right now, is because it's literally, you're not looking at one evolution or two evolution, you're looking at 100 evolutions from where we are now along the systematizing that, that I'm describing. And so a lot of my process in terms of, you asked, like downloads and stuff, a lot of my process has been the ideal place for me is walking on the beach in South Florida and Miami Beach in the middle of the night. I spent years just walking for hours in the middle of the night, just like, doing my best to download, so to speak, the information, just to have the entire world melt away. So it's just me and the beach and nothing else exists, and allow me to float in the infinite sea of possibilities. That's the way that I see it. And that's where I go to, is I, rather than start to figure out how to construct things using what we have in our world, I start to think about, in the infinite realm of possibilities, how are things flowing? I see it as like energy flow, like I perceive the energy flow. And then once I have an idea of how we want the energy flow to flow, like to incentivize people to support each other. So so that's the energy flow. We want to incentivize people to support each other. So what mechanisms can we come up with to do that? And so, a percentage commission is like one mechanism, and that gets amplified when you have generations, and there's these other pieces, and that's just one type of solution. Now what I'm doing to kind of catch you up, and Diane, this is new for you as well, because this is actually the next evolution since we talked, even like a month ago, is that by presenting any one solution that I present or either of you present, or any thought that we share into our thought maps, and this is essentially what we're going to talk about, because this is how you're going to start to, create your thought maps, your presence in the world, is that as you share a thought, you invite the opportunity for others to respond and share their thought and their opinion. And, I know a better way to do this. This person could do that. When you have the mechanism in place, as Uniting for Action is providing, you have the ability to host a conversation that then again can give you a lot of statistically relevant information, right? And you can get to the point where the conversation is diverging into a number of different options. Like some of the people that have showed up think it ought to go this way, and some of the people think it ought to go this way, and some of the people think that it ought to go this way. Now, by nature of the mechanism, they're still all grouped together. They're still all finding each other. They have an idea of what their collective resource pool is worth, that each of them are willing to devote to creating the result that they want. So now it's just a matter of them collectively saying yes and pushing the button, and all of them collectively pooling their resources to create whatever it is that they want around that. And what we're doing is we're creating an active, intentional evolution that just doesn't have a mechanism on our planet right now. Because what we're doing is we're creating a conversation around every thought that is pushing us towards best practices, expert information, when we know what everyone else has entered in terms of their experience and how long it took and how much it cost, and all these different things. Now we are tapped into the collective global brain, and we have the ability to be able to make decisions based on everything that's already been done there. So now we're operating in a space where, instead of wasting billions of hours, trillions of dollars, relearning, refiguring out what thousands or millions of people have already learned before us, we're capturing all of that data as a society, right? As a species. This is the thing, is this is a big species evolutionary leap for us, because as a species, we're now taking what we were as individual neurons and coming together to form a collective global brain where we all have access to everything that everyone's had access to. And we have the technology to support that already. So there's no reason not to be doing it, except that we haven't made a choice to do it yet. And now we're being given that opportunity, those of us that want to embrace it.
Oh, wow. Yes, I love that. All of it. One thing about like the knowledge and it being like that collective brain is that everything's so fragmented currently. So everything is in so many different locations and places, and it's hidden behind lock and key sometimes, or maybe a swipe of a card, right? So we don't always have access to everything that's available. And so what I see here is just like everything coming together and it being like a hub, like that brain. That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And really, that's the thing, is it's the idea of it, right? Everything that I'm sharing is just a first draft of a public conversation about every thought to lead us to the ultimate way to do everything that there is to do about everything, right? And that's really where all of this goes. So the idea of anybody joining Uniting for Action at this point to be a part of all of this really is not like, hey, I think you've got great solutions and I want to see those solutions alive, except for the solution that we're building a framework for the best solutions to keep showing up, right? Uniting for Action isn't trying to have the best solutions. Uniting for Action is trying to provide a framework that allows all the best solutions to be there all the time about everything, right? And that we can do. That's very achievable. So that's just, us creating that. Now, it also so happens that I happen to have what I think are a lot of great ideas about where to go with a lot of these systems. And so, that's like me throwing just my thoughts into the ring about here's, ways we can do this. And basically, just for me, it's showing people that we can, that we can have a systematized society. I'll just kind of end with this and then we'll dive into where you guys are at with everything. The artificial intelligence revolution that we're in the midst of right now is severely limited by the fact that artificial intelligence is trying to make sense of a bunch of disconnected information, as you were saying, Heather. It's here, it's there, it's in this format, it's in that format. Like, what sort of data can you get out of information when it's in that way? Next to none, but when you systematize any of that information, and we see it all over the place in our society, and in Yelp, in Amazon, in eBay, in Uber, and any system that takes all of these what were different reporting ways in different places and says, no, now you're going to list your book with all of these fields and you're going to have all of this in Amazon, and this is the way everyone's going to see every book, and on eBay it's going to work like this, and then Airbnb. Like, who was looking to stay in people's homes on Craigslist before Airbnb showed up, right? It's like there was no way to have an idea what you were walking into until you had a system that gave you data, that gave you ways to be able to process that data to know what to make of it, right? So it's the systematization of our whole society that is essentially the killer app for AI, because AI is just trying to be smart with stupid information right now. And we're soon going to be able to apply AI to systematized information about everything. And now what are we going to get out of that system? We're going to get optimum down to the T, down to the second, down to the penny, down to the everything, optimum use of our resources to be effective and efficient with results we want to create in the world, both individually and collectively.
Mm-hmm. So really, a lot of it hinges on the algorithm, and my very, very layman's understanding of how this will work is when you get a critical mass of folks interacting on this platform, then the algorithm is going to be essentially informed by the choices that individuals are making based on how we're weighing the value proposition of those who come forth to, maybe put their energies together for a common cause or purpose, whatever the case may be. What I think is really interesting, and Heather and I were talking a little bit about this, I don't know if you are familiar with Barbara Marx Hubbard. She's not related to Marx or Hubbard, but yet that's her name, and she passed away a few years ago. And she had a similar experience to the 9/11 experience that you had, and that was when the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima or Nagasaki, whichever one was that came first. She was a young woman at that time, maybe say 18 or 19 years old, and I think everyone was really at that time shook about just like wow, like that was a really an earth-shattering event that occurred. And the idea that all of humanity could be exterminated with just the push of a button was something that hadn't been introduced into the human psyche unless it would be through biblical channels. So this was something like, whoa. And so her driving question became something along the lines of what good can come out of something like this. And so her life's work was really kind of revolved around studying humanity and asking that question: how can this be turned for good? And I see that that's what you're doing with the AI. You're saying like, wow, so the technology exists. How can this be leveraged for good? How can this serve humanity? And I really love that. And another parallel that I see in your work that became very apparent when I looked at the document that you sent that has the realm of empowerment and everything. And so what you called intentional evolution, Barbara called conscious evolution, but very similar. And everything that she really was reporting on in the world that she was working within had to do with the organic and so she talked about the noosphere. So which essentially you're talking about kind of like this universal brain, but she was already identifying something in kind of like the unseen realm or the spiritual that she was calling the noosphere, and just kind of expanding on ideas like the 100th monkey phenomena. And so in a lot of ways you can say that exactly what you're talking about has already emerged organically. Our full understanding as humans of how that mechanism operates is still in its infancy, but with the technology, you're creating a tangible model that's probably going to help us understand the conscious evolution, a conscious evolutionary process, in the same way that we're going to be understanding the intentional evolution. So I think that is, to me, I would look at that as a synchronistic, positive validator of the path that you're on and the work that you're doing to serve humanity. It's like, yes, of course, this really resonates with people like Heather and I. And Heather is an amazing student. Like if you put something in front of her, she will devour that information and she will process it and she will very quickly assimilate it and be able to speak intelligently. So I'm super, super thrilled that Heather has taken an interest in this, because I feel so ill-equipped. I'll just say it's really cool and it's mind-blowing and you need to look at this. But she will take it and bring it in and make it her own and be able to really speak to it. So, yay.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And I was thinking that too. So that's amazing that you actually brought that up, because I'm just like chomping at the bit. I mean, this is going to be one of those, like, we're in Earth School, okay? And this is something new. Like, this is brand new to people. And so to be able to like put words to it and explain what it looks like and explain how it can be implemented. And that's why I want to figure out, like, how does this work? Like, how do we get our brain, our individual brains to be a part of this collective? Yeah. So I'm curious to know what do we do?
Yeah, I'm going to show you. Yeah, go ahead, Diane.
I just wanted to piggyback and say another thing that I didn't say about Heather is that she is such a natural networker, and she's engaged with some, really high level, groups of what I consider to be, heavy hitters or very impactful people that she's, engaged with. So I think that she's going to be a wonderful ambassador for this. So anyway, you tell us more. Tell us
Like,
more.
well, I can't tell you how excited that makes me. Thank you. Thank you, Heather, for being an ambassador. That's amazing. That's so great. I wasn't getting on this meeting expecting that outcome. So I'm excited. And that's awesome.
Absolutely, for sure.
That's beautiful. I really honor and appreciate that. Um, there's so much more I want to share, of course. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that whatever I'm sharing is tuning into your guys' specific visions of your priorities and your intentions. Diane, I specifically want to, pick up where we left off in our last conversation, and especially with what I mentioned as the example, if you are, thinking or already creating like training materials for others, and where you're at in that whole part of it, and just where that is falling in the midst of the different priorities that we talked about and where you're at with everything. So if you don't mind taking a couple minutes to give me a catch up on where you're at with everything, so that I can tune into, how we're directing the conversation for you and where you're at right now.
Right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Jarrett. Well, in many ways, I'm kind of in a static position, because I'm acknowledging that I'm in a deep grief emotional state. I'm not wanting to do anything dramatic from that place, and I'm trying to give myself the space I need to work through those emotions. So, and I'm also realizing that the past 3 months since I lost my partner, there's big gaps and holes in, conversations I've had, meetings, things I've been at. I wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So, so that's just kind of like the fact of it, that and I just came back from an hour and a half long meeting with my accountant. So that's, so far, let's just say this has not been one of my favorite days. No, I know it has not been one of my favorite weeks. So as far as and nothing really, there hasn't really been a lot of movement with me since I talked to you last month, Jared. If it was actually last month, was it longer than that? I'm not sure.
I think it was about 4 weeks. I haven't looked, but I think it's somewhere in that neighborhood. Yeah. So I guess then help direct me, how much time and attention and thought and conversation do you want to direct towards your attentions, Diane, versus Heather? How do you guys want to manage? How do you want me to manage our flow here?
Well, I would like for Heather to walk away with a sense of, I see how this can specifically work with some of the things I'm doing. And that's really why I wanted to I've wanted to get Heather involved since the beginning, and that, but it's like, as she's been moving through her process and her different opportunities, more and more, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is something that I think could really help you in what you're trying to do. And rather than her having to reinvent the wheel, like, maybe this would just be a perfect time for, to talk to Heather. So I don't know. I mean, I know you guys were only on the call for 5 or 10 minutes before I got on. So I don't know how much she's been able to tell you about what she's involved in, because
she didn't tell me yet. I was just giving the background, waiting for you. Yeah. So we're about to get into that for sure.
Okay. Let's get
I'll let you finish what you wanted to say there, Diane. But yeah,
so I was just going to say that Heather is working with some technology for healing that is AI driven, and is helping so many people. And she can tell you probably way more than you ever want to know about it. But the network approach that these companies are taking, and the ways that they're trying to bring people into their organizations, and then quickly equip them to be able to go out and bring these healing modalities to the world. Like, it just makes so much sense. So I have a feeling when you guys talk and can have a full exchange and understanding of what you're doing in your parallel worlds, that would be the thing that would be the most helpful for me, just to kind of, I can actually draw on your positive energy that's going to actually help me a lot. So I don't know. Let me just hand it back to you, Jared, because you might have some questions that you'll direct, or because I know, Heather, you could talk on from a lot of different angles, but I want to let Jared capture the information that makes sense with his process, if that's okay.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of that and setting us up in that way. That's really great and generous. I really appreciate that. I'm sure Heather does as well. So I think, what I wanted you to do, Heather, is give me like the 5 to 10 minute version of, what you want to share with me about what I should know that we might direct any of what I'm going to share with you towards, you're basically just going to give me whatever examples, spaces you want me to use for you, right? Like how would this work for this part? How would this work for this part, right? Type of thing. So just, start with wherever you want to go. We can obviously add different layers in the future, but just give me the basis for, our context for the rest of our conversation, and then we'll go from there. How's that?
That sounds good to me. Okay, so I work with frequency and energy and kind of bridging science, medicine, and spirituality. Okay. And so what that allows is for me to empower other people to activate the self-healing potential within them on a mind, body, and spirit basis. So I am a life coach, and I coach and I mentor people and I guide people, but ultimately I want to enable them to take ownership of their journey, of their spiritual journey, of their health journey, of their healing, all of the things, going into, trauma from generations, going into childhood trauma, going into what their dreams and aspirations are, interrelationships, anything you could think of. What happens when people learn about something that they've never heard of before is not what you would expect. You would expect a lot of questions of, well, what do you mean? Tell me more. So how do you use it? And that sort of thing. Instead, it tends to be, if people are new to it, they run the other direction. They're like, but that's not what's on the commercials. The commercial, every single time I'm watching TV, it's 12 different commercials for pharmaceutical medications, or, I'm being pointed in this direction to eat healthy, or to whatever the case is. Like, this is foreign. So pushing something new into the world, as you know, has its challenges. And I wonder how Uniting for Action could potentially support the knowledge that's available and the understanding kind of happen quicker. So to break it down, we're cellular beings, down to the nitty gritty, we're electrical beings, and our cell voltage, it diminishes over time. So from the time that we're born, we're already experiencing environmental factors that are, harming us on a cellular level. And then as we go on, we encounter even more contaminants and environmental things, what we're putting on our clothes, what we're putting on our skin, what we're putting in our bodies, eating, water, the amount of sleep, the Wi-Fi, all the things. There's a lot of things stacked against our biology. And so I help people to biohack. One of the tools I use is this Healy. This is a quantum device that allows for biofeedback resonance. And I'm actually running a program for coherence right now so that I can be kind of integrating and adapting to the energies of us as a group, so that I can be in alignment with the core purpose and mission of this call, so I can be intentional and focused and present, rather than having all these, flowing thoughts and things that are not relevant right now coming in. Right now, I am laser focused. I am here with you all. And with quantum entanglement, there's no separation. And so the device is, we use a community-based model for the business side of it. So the idea is to refer this item out to somebody else. So to say, this is what I use, this is how I use it, this could support you in these ways, and I'm referring you to this device. And then that person sees value in it and they say, I would like that device, whether they're a healer themselves and they're going to use it in their practice, or they want it for themselves and their family and friends. Once they get this device, they automatically have a business. They automatically have a business opportunity for them to continue to share and educate and refer people back to this device. So this isn't the sole purpose. I want people more so to understand the power of frequency. It's not about this device. It's not about the others. There's so many, and it's going to be more and more and more. This technology has been suppressed for centuries. And so now that it's becoming more stable, more credible, more tangible, and there's actually a lot of scientists and a lot of doctors behind it and backing it. So now it's becoming more, it's having more efficacy when it comes to this conversation in this area. I want to see people looking within more. I want to see people just like you on your beach walks in the middle of the night with it's you in the moonlight. You're grounding yourself the whole time and you're connecting. I mean, like, we are the conduit between heaven and earth. So you were doing just that. No wonder you received such, so many downloads and so much information and wisdom to bring to us. So the idea of us steering away from artificial medicine or artificial ways of affecting our biology. So you're sick, you take something that's unnatural, it has the effect of taking away whatever symptom, but then it leaves some residue, some debris that's going to then cause some problems down the road. You won't even be able to connect the dots that you're affected down there from something that happened there. It was something good. The doctor said so. So there's a place for all the different types of medicine, and this is all about empowering people to take their healing into their own hands, to not just focus on the physical, but also the emotional, because it's all connected, and the spiritual, it's all connected. So I want to bridge that gap. I want to bridge that gap between looking externally for solutions and answers and going within, because we have so much wisdom. And so there's other modalities that I use, but ultimately I'm a biohacker, and I want to teach people how to biohack, because we're up against a lot of factors that are causing our cell membrane to decrease, our cell voltage to decrease, the ATP production in our bodies to be not happening at all. I mean, it's just the deficiencies, the lack of understanding of what we're capable of. And then I just really want to see people stop being in boxes all day, where we wake up in a box and then we get in our box to go to our box, to be in front of a box, to work on our little box. It's just, I want people to understand that we have an electrical charge, and grounding and earthing is something that is underrated.
Yeah, I agree. I think about that as often as I can. I've been going into the park and making sure I take off my shoes. I learned that from David Wolf, actually, for the first time. I love everything that you shared, and there's so much I want to share about all of that. I think, the one part I want to connect the dots with before I forget about it, because I think it goes right to what you're, asking about. Where is this synergy? What you were just describing, so here's the device, but it's for you, it's about, holding a frequency. And then there's certain things that you want to say about that, right? So you start with, it's about holding a frequency. And then one thought from there is, this is one way you can do it, through music, through meditation, through chanting, through, biomat, on and on and on and on. So you've got one thought, and then that thought has all these branches, right? Okay. So this is our thought map literally getting built, right? And so where you lay this thought, and then you lay this thought, and then you lay this thought, that's your thought map, right? And then every person has their responses, has their thoughts. So it's like overlaying thought map on thought map on thought map on thought map, right? So within the system, we can query and say, just show us our thought map, and we see all of our thoughts laid out in space in front of us, right? And then we can query for anything else. Show us all where all of ours match up with this other person, you know, to see where our matches are, where our unmatches are, right? Where we're in a differing alignment. So actually, this is like a whole new realm of how we interact with each other and brands and everything, because what it's going to do is it's going to drive our consumer choices more than anything else. We're going to shift from a price-driven society to a value-driven society because of the ways that we're setting all of this up. So what's
That
going to
feels really good. That just did something to my nervous system. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the real magic of the thought map. I mean, it's cool that, like, you know, you're like your friend says, "Hey, I want to introduce you to somebody," and as soon as they say that, the person that they want to introduce you to, you're given a readout of your thought map compared to their thought map with all of your AI preferences. Like, these are all the alerts I want to know about. Like, if anybody's got any of these, let me know right away, because that's like a deal killer for me, right? So I don't need to go any further. So your AI like knows all of these things, right? So you're able to see your relative matches on all kinds of different stuff. Well, how do I match about this thing with them? And how do I match about this thing with them? And how about this? And you get what I'm saying? Again, you have the fine-tuned controls to be able to see how you relate to the rest of the world in your thoughts and what you care about. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely, 100%. She just put in the chat about human design. I was actually wondering in my head just right then, we are so in sync. It's amazing. That's 2 for 2. But yeah, wondering even like mapping out the human design. Like it reminds me of human design because you were talking about just like ruling out, like, okay, like let's filter this out because this is going to be a deal breaker or whatever the case. Like, is that part of it, or does that come in specifically from the person's thought mapping? Is it just based on their thoughts, or is it also based on other things?
Yeah, it's great that you're asking that. So what you're describing essentially is like an app in the operating system. So start to think of this as an operating system where any functionality that you can imagine is either being provided to you from somebody else, so you're paying them a nominal fee to use their app, right? Or you are like, I can't find this anywhere where anyone's, you know, doing all this stuff with human design, so I'm going to go ahead and create that app, and now people are paying you, you know, to use that app, right? So we actually, people that would never be app developers will be app developers because the most basic level of the app, just to diverge for a second, is essentially one qualifying piece of information. So like how fast, you know, is one dimension, or how much does it cost, or quality. Or, you know, for human design, if there's one like scale, I know there's lots of scales, but if you pick like one scale and then you can measure something against that scale, in a sense, when people are sharing that and sharing information within that system, that becomes the app, right? Like you can you can record your thoughts about this. You can compare your thoughts on this specific thing, right? On the human design like scale, if you're imagining that it was one scale, but it'll be multiple. But you get what I'm saying? Like the framework, the framework becomes this very intuitive, simple. Again, we get everything we want about everything because we're just like swimming in it. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, totally. Totally.
And so to get back to what you're saying again about the device, the frequency, you are starting the conversation, and you get to follow the conversation wherever you want in those branches, right? Like, so you're going back to it. So if you want to, you know, adjust your vibration, here's all the different ones that you're mentioning, right? And then every one that you're mentioning essentially is like an implicit endorsement, because anytime that anybody like sees that and clicks on it and buys it, you're going to earn a commission from that. And so that's really fundamental to the whole system, is that there's always a third party in every transaction. This is a really like core concept of the system, because what that does is it shifts us from a competition-based society to a collective-based society at its core DNA, right? So when there's always somebody that's benefiting from any transaction that's happening as a third party, that means that we are all financially invested in the success of those around us. Like anytime we can see a way that we can refer somebody, connect somebody, help somebody get what they want, we're not only doing it because it helps them, we're actually going to benefit financially from doing that. So it closes the loop. We're helping them, we're getting supported, you know, and it has us do more, it has us do more. And so we live in the society where we actually have to filter, you know, who are the priority people for me to support with my time and my attention, because essentially we get so automated in all this, it's almost like how quickly can we evaluate opportunities and press buttons, because we're essentially just bringing resources in through all of these different mechanisms within the network, all of the referrals that we're doing on all kinds of different levels, but also through, you know, the transactions that we're doing, the ways that we're being a supporter and that we're earning money on the different nano actions that are our jam, so to speak, you know, and so all of this, all these resources are coming in, and we get to choose what are our priority realities that we want our resources flowing out to and at what rate. Because the more we are flowing, the more reality that we're creating. So it's really up to us. We start to get into, you can see the mechanism is built that it's disincentivized to hoard a lot of resources. It's actually, it does you no good because it's creating no reality for you personally when you have all these resources. People who have a lot of resources generally want to create a lot of reality, right? And so really any of us, you know, are motivated to create reality when we have resources. So it creates a whole new cycle around value exchange. It accelerates value exchange on such a hyper level, right? Where we're all projecting what we all need and everybody's supporting us to get what we need. And we're all incentivized to do all of that. And we're circulating resources fast. We're doing like 10 times the number of transactions that we do in the space of one transaction now, you know, or 100. That's where it gets to these really crazy levels. And that's where, to bring it all back to you as a life coach and the way that you support each other, you know, people, Heather, is that as much as all of these tools are like amazing and what it gives us the capability of, it's like infinite potential with these tools in many ways. Then I am very clear from my own personal experience and seeing others that we're limited in how effective we can be with any tool based on how empowered we're being in our world, right? When I'm in a state of overwhelm and dealing with this and dealing with that, and I can't, you know, give attention to this and I can't deal with that, and I don't even have the time to evaluate whether something is valuable to me or not. I'm dismissing it because I can't even evaluate it effectively. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know, you know, there's a lot of people that are in that space at this point, right? So that's why we're creating the realm of empowerment as the door that people walk into to get into the Uniting for Action world. It's like we're all starting within the realm of empowerment because we all are looking for the ways that we can be empowered through the device that you shared, through the services that you offer, through some webinar that you might offer. You know, all these different mechanisms are being provided to people in abundance. We're starting with the first 33, you know, founding launch supporters for the realm of empowerment. And the idea is for the whole world of empowerment to show up in this realm of empowerment, right? And again, with all the algorithmic optimization, you know, I'm somebody that has these kinds of, you know, factors in my life. You know, what are the best courses of action for me, you know? And then again, tuning the dials on the mission control to get all of the results, you know, oh, this is what worked for my friend. Oh, this is, you know, what MDs say is good. This is what, you know, osteopaths say is good, you know, all of that. So again, having everything about everything. But I just want to, you know, share again that we're in this world where we're connected into all of the information. You know what I'm saying? All of the information is right there and available to us.
Yeah, and it's amazing because I feel like we've come out of like the era of information or whatever, how they phrase it, and it's more like it's about transmission at this point. Like we're moving into the transmission of the information, right? We've collected the information where the well is overflowing at this point. We don't even know what to do with the information. It's like reading the book, going to the workshop, going to the seminar, and then dropping everything. Before you don't put anything into effect, you don't take action or implement anything. You're not going to grow. You're not going to have the transformation that Tony Robbins said you would have if only you did these things. You didn't do it. So we're missing that action part. But and funny that action's in the name of this community, but it's transmission of information and then empowerment for what to do with the information. So when we have these dreams or whatever, and we don't water the plant and we don't allow the sun in, it's like this is an opportunity for the people who have something to give, and they're still asleep. They still have the wool over their eyes, and it's like they're confused. So wow, I can see what this will do.
Yeah. And again, you see why if we lead with the realm of empowerment, because like you're saying, just having the information is not enough. I have a shelf full of books. What good is that doing me? Right. So yeah, so it's the people like you within the realm of empowerment that people are getting more and more because we're framing it all this way that, if you want to create results in your life, if you want to have the life of your dreams, if you want to be living a powerful life, then you want to be working on your empowerment in whatever ways work for you, right? And here's all the ways that have worked for others with the similar circumstances as you are experiencing or what have you, right? Again, the AI guided tag guided, because that's how people are going to be finding you, right? Under energetics, vibrations, the different ways that you want people to find what you're sharing. And then this is where, and I'm about to show you the mechanics of it. Let me ask you guys timing. I want to make sure I'm honoring your availability. So how long do you guys have? When do we need to wrap this up so I can be clear?
I marked off 90 minutes. So I'm 30 minutes away from my checkout, but so that's where I'm at. Thanks for checking in.
Yeah, that's perfect. Same with you, Diane, or how are you doing, Diane?
Yeah, that'll work for me. I've got my next one at 2, so that would give me a chance for maybe lunch.
That would be nice. That's great. Yeah. Yes. So I lost my train of thought for a moment. I was just talking about
how people would find Heather by energetics, frequency, things like that, how she wants people to find her, and then.
Exactly. Thank you. Through the tags. So what you're doing in creating the stories to create agreements, that's what we're about to, get into, to show you the mechanics of the story making machine and then creating agreements with people. Because basically everything comes down to telling a story, seeking an agreement. So whenever you can, as far as action is concerned, let's put it that way, right? But even sharing opinions, you essentially are looking for agreement around that opinion, right? But a lot of times, you have an idea of, well, if you agree with that, this is what I think should be done, right? A lot of times there's an action on the end of it. And that's, again, where we get into, the alignment of collective actions, people finding that same action that they're seeking in the world and being able to take action together. But it's where, again, people are traversing the thought maps to find the thoughts that they're looking for, essentially, right? So again, if they don't know about that technology, they're not going to be searching for a technology. But if they're searching for a way to, modulate my vibrational frequency, and their friends said, look up vibrational frequency or something like that, then through that tag is where they're going to find your thoughts, right? And so essentially those tags are the channels. And that's how we're setting it up, to where basically every tag is its own channel. Every nano action, in a sense, is its own channel. And it's where, you know, once you tune into the channel, there you see all the others that are tuned into that channel, all the people, all the businesses, all the articles, all the everything, right? And it's where you're creating your content, because what you're doing as you're creating a thought map, and this is where, you know, we can make this our next session if you're interested, is we basically take a session of going really deep into everything that you want to describe. Let's just, you know, talk about the device. Tell me the name of the device again.
It's the Healy, Healy.
The Healy. Okay, great. So the Healy, there's all different aspects of what it does that you know can talk about, and you can even like dive into the details on specific conditions, right? Or you could kind of pass over it, right? Like what comes out of your mouth is essentially laying down your thought map for the world, right? Because when we record it, then we have the capability to build it into the thought map, right? And so right now I'm, you know, talking about how we do it manually, but we're going to be having AI do that for us very, very quickly. I think the AI already exists to do that. So it's just a matter of us kind of training the system, which is coming very soon. So essentially, the more you can record out of your mouth, if you can just talk all day long and have original, different thoughts all day long, you're building a more extensive thought map than anybody, really. And when you're in that claiming of territory, it's the opportunity for you to be laying down, well, then you want this, or you should talk to this person, or you should see me about this. And like every thought becomes an opportunity for commerce as well within the system, right? And it's all like the long tail of where it all leads back to you and the other things you want people to know about, right? They found you through this, but now they're getting this, right? And I'm gonna end this whole discussion on one like mind-blowing aspect of this, and then we'll go on to the other parts. But now that you're seeing like how we're literally building our thought maps in conversation, natural language conversation, and having the AI build web pages, organized web pages for us with the branches to the different thoughts, and all of that's happening automatically pretty quickly. What's happening also is as we are talking in our conversation, the AI is processing our speech in real time. So what it's doing is it's tapping into the collective global brain, and it's bringing us a heads-up display of where we're at in our thought map and how that relates to everybody else's thought map that's ever come to this thought already. And so we're actively augmenting our thinking in real time by saying, oh, look, our friends went over this, maybe we should direct the conversation over here, or let's put a bookmark over here so we can get back to that one, and let's deal with this. And you get what I'm saying? Like, it's not just what's in our head, we're now thinking in conjunction with the entire collective global brain all at once.
What a blessing. Are you kidding me? Like, what? I've always been a fan of like not reinventing the wheel. I've always been a fan of like, okay, yeah, let's just get the dust off of it, and like we can still use this, you know? But like nothing's ever really worked. It's always like putting tape here and just like, oh, improvising. But this is like, I'm wide open. Wow. I'm taking notes also, so don't think when I'm looking down like I'm just yeah.
No worries. You'll have the recording as well, and this will be processed as soon as we've got our AI up and going for this.
One question: do you have a patent attorney?
No, not yet. I'm seeking patent attorney. So if you know,
okay, we should talk offline on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's definitely one of the high priorities right now.
Yeah, we have to protect this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. So that gives you an idea again of just generally with whatever you're interested in, what you're going to be doing with the system. And again, I'll show you what's functional now. It's still at early stages with the prototype now. And I'm going to be polishing this technology up to do an alpha launch in the coming weeks, right now I'm targeting May 15th. If we can get it done then, I'm still optimistic about that. The alpha launch will be the founding launch supporters using the system to build out their business presence, essentially, and personal presence, right? Like you would be one of the first users of the system to build out your thought maps and put all of your products and services and just everything, right? All of your recommendations, like all of that. So it's being the first users of the system for your own benefit to create whatever you want in the world. Because again, what you're doing is you're spurning conversations, especially as being someone who's, you know, starting this. You're starting a whole lot of conversations that will evolve tremendously into all kinds of things, right? But you're starting the conversation. And then as people are showing up and adding to the conversation, all these branches are going off. You get to choose which of those branches you're following as well, right? So you're creating, again, this active evolution that, again, as people are coming together and finding each other and bringing collective resources together and creating action, like this real evolution of generation after generation of action is happening, all coming from you verbalizing it and starting a conversation. You see that we're really literally speaking reality into existence.
Wow. Yeah.
And the way that we are doing that is through the compellingness of our stories, through the inspiration of our stories. It's the stories that are most inspiring are going to be the ones that people are aligning around, right? So in many ways, that becomes like the biggest currency, is as you can inspire and be someone that people want to follow, so to speak, or listen to, or pay attention, or add you to their query. I won't get deep into it. Did you guys get to go deep into like the full summary, the 25-page document, or not get into all of those details?
I went through, but I didn't go deep.
Okay.
I did the same.
But now I'm inspired to go back.
There's a lot in there, as you saw. There's a lot in there, but I'll just say very quickly because it's significant and you'll get it. You know, it's one thing when you refer two people together and you earn a commission, it's very clear, right? But in this system, it's going to be where like people are querying the system. Show me, you know, of these different products I can choose, show me, you know, how many chose this and how many chose this and how many chose this. Well, of my friends, which did they choose? And of, you know, again, of acupuncturists, which did they choose, right? And then you choose which query you're paying attention to, so to speak, and you're making a purchasing decision. If you were one of the data points that was used in that query, then you will get a fractional commission as, you know, as a fraction of all of the data points of people. So again, as people are respecting you and adding you to their queries for different decisions, you are fractionally earning commissions all day long. So again, I'm not saying these are the ultimate solution, but they sound really good to me, and they're a really great starting point to find something that's even better when we can, right? But look at what we can start with as an example of a mechanism that we can use to achieve an intended outcome that has people, you know, earning for what they've done, you know, essentially.
Yeah, being the reciprocity of it. It's a universal thing. Like as you're creating this, it feels very, very universal. Like the universe is doing it, where it's like I'm doing work, but I'm not really doing work. I'm doing what I want, and I'm contributing the way I feel like doing. The word work is torture, so I don't really connect with that word anyway. It's always contributing or creating or, you know, something like that. But I think that's amazing. It's a paradigm shift. It lays the financial paradigm on its ass, because it's so clear that the byproduct of me putting value into the world, leading with love, the abundance that's already there for me, my birthright, I receive it. Now it's in my 3D. It was always there, but now I'm receiving it, and that's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you really seeing that. So we're creating the mechanisms, and again, you know, I feel great that I know there's a lot of really, really great solutions in what I'm sharing with you and all these systems that I've developed. And, you know, grateful to be able to download all of these ideas. I've seen myself as an energetic engineer, where I really tune into the energy of how I'm feeling the energy flow. I meant to mention, since you're very much into the energy and all that, I was a qigong instructor for a period of time, and I was on tour actually. I don't know if do you know Supreme Science Qigong? Are you familiar? The Qi Revolution? Yeah.
Yep. Oh,
so I actually started with them back in 2006. I went to a Qi Revolution before it was called that in Fort Lauderdale in 2006. And by 2007, I was doing their website and touring the country with Jeff and the whole crew. And so I went to a lot. Yeah, I went to a lot of them and was in that world, both on the national level. I went to a couple National Qigong Association conferences, which was really amazing as well. And, immersed in that world in South Florida as well in certain ways. So I just want you to kind of get a sense of my background in terms of the language and the people I've been around and all of that as well.
That's amazing. I mean, I definitely, I feel your energy, and your language aligns with mine from the very first moment of us speaking. And yeah, I thank you for sharing that, because that's really good for me to know.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So, getting back now, well, let me dive right into the tech, because I want you to see a decent amount of it before we have to wrap up. Any other questions or comments or anything before I show you the system?
Go for it.
Okay, great. Perfect. All right, so here we go. This is our mission control. So this is what it looks like in the mission control. So this is one reality generating machine, creating the Uniting for Action system. And then here will be another, and here will be another, and we'll be able to have as many different reality generating machines as we want with all kinds of organization. This, as you can see, is just baby basic, mechanisms. But this is where, and I didn't mention specifically before, I think you got the idea. We're building everything open source with the world. That's why, I want to record everything and everything, because every concept that we talk about is the opportunity for someone to show up and say, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. And, through the nano actions and all that, we're creating the mechanism for everyone to be able to plug in at their highest skill level, their highest talents, to be able to create results together. That's like an integral part of the system. So, that's how we, as a movement, declare this will be so, because we're inviting the whole world to show up and create the best version of that can get created, right? And so those of us that want to create something together are simply coming together and creating it, right? Very, very straightforward. So, again, everything is just the first stage. But at this first stage, what you have is the reality generating machine with the nano actions underneath it. So you have assembling the legal team as a nano action underneath it, but it has nano actions underneath it, as you can see from the finger pointing. So when you hover over the finger, then you see assembling the legal team, and then you see the nano action underneath it. So you can have all of these. And that's the thing about the nano action, is it's infinitely scalable in both directions. And that's why I created it that way. So you can have any system of infinite complexity, and it's all based on one moving part, basically, the same moving part, one nano action. So it's really a simple system in that kind of way. So then for any particular nano action, we can just click on it in order to make it the focus. Because of the time, I'm going to kind of run through this quickly. We have 4 different views. We have the mission control view, which is what you're seeing right now, the manage the nano actions view that lets you, create nano actions underneath it, the edit the action to edit the description and the video and all the different pieces you can create of it, and then see the story, which is where you see it. And that's what we're going to take a look at in a moment. Actually, let me show you that first. So here we're creating the Uniting Fraction system. I'm going to click on the see the story icon. And what that's going to do is it's going to show us the story view. So remember what you're looking at here with these nano actions underneath it. And then as it's coming up, what I'm going to share with you is that the story view, these other views, again, think of them as apps, right? So Uniting for Action is creating these certain apps to allow you to manage nano actions a certain way, but anybody can create a different app to manage nano actions. Or it doesn't have to be nano actions the way Jared's defined nano actions. It can be anything. Like I'm creating all of the infinite ways that this is just a framework to be able to be able to visualize how you want things to work and the tools to be there to make it so. You get what I'm saying? And when you come up with, and this is great for you as a coach, when you come up with a really, a unique way of having it all work and you seeing it all that, like your unique skin, basically, right? That you're then able to have others license that from you or purchase it from you. Hey, that's amazing. Your clients, you offer it to the public, like you've created this way of seeing the world. Here's all the ways that you manage it. You get what I'm saying? And so again, yeah, this whole thing becomes a platform for everybody to create, everything for everyone. So I just want to kind of drop that in there. But then within that context, you get to see, the way that I'm using it to create things right now. So this is the story view. So with the story view, this is our navigation. So here's where we add thoughts, or I'm sorry, that's the edit. So that's the edit icon. So we can edit this. And this is where we add thoughts. And this is where the thoughts build on thoughts and become a conversation. And so this is part, in particular, the thoughts are areas that I'm going to add functionality before the alpha launch. Right now, it's basically just there as a placeholder. The other more functional parts right now are for the seeking, the connecting, and the supporting. And this will make more sense when you go through the longer document, the summary. But basically, as a seeker, so you're somebody, you want to create the Uniting for Action system, also just to show you the whole page. So here's all of the nano actions that you saw. And as nano actions got added to the reality generating machine, they basically just became parts of this page, right? So here's assembling the legal team. The next one down is assembling the business accelerator team. Each one gets its own story, okay? And then within that story, I don't want to click on it because it'll take too much time. But basically, again, you can add over here text, video, image. It's the standard, content management of this is what a story module looks like, basically. And then again, when you add, let's go assembling the business accelerator team. So you say what I'm seeking for assembling the business accelerator team, and you add what you're seeking, okay? And then you say, as a seeker, what I'm offering to supporters is this. So if you can do this for me, if you can assemble the legal team, then, I will pay you $10,000, okay? So that is my offer, as a seeker to a supporter. And then I say to potential connectors, people that could connect me with a supporter to expand, the reach of who's seeing my offer. Now, it's not just my friends that are seeing my offer if they can be a supporter, but I'm enrolling them to be a connector, to connect me with somebody that they know. So you get, the generation after generations of, relationships that you can tap into as you're incentivizing, right, the connection aspect. And it gets to a second level and a third level, 10% on the first level, then 2% on the second level, then 1% on the third level. So even if you're referring somebody to somebody that's then, doing business, that you're still earning 2% or 1%. You get, what I'm saying? So again, it has all of that built in. So your offer, you provide the offer to supporters, the offer to the connectors, offer to other seekers if you're looking for people to pool resources with. As you do all of this, and as the connectors show up to do the same and the supporters show up to do the same, this is where everyone's self-defining themselves within the marketplace, right? And then what it ends up looking like, I can't show you all the interactions now, but you start to have negotiations, A seeker says, here's my offer to a supporter. A supporter responds. Now you're in a negotiation. You go through a negotiation stage till you arrive at an agreement, right? The idea with these reality generating machines, to go back again, is that when you have a reality generating machine and you've defined all of these nano actions as the sub actions that need to happen in order to create this reality, then what you need to do is you need to create an agreement with somebody to manage every single one of these pieces. You get what I'm saying? If you have a 100-part machine and you've got 99 parts working well, but one part is broken, if that part is critical, that machine is not going to work, right? So this gives you a huge reality check on creating realities, because you're laying out all the nano actions, but then you got to create agreements with every single one. And then you've got to make sure that you actually get it done. Otherwise, you've just built yourself a broken system that's not getting you the results that you want, right? So this is all about getting results, and it's all about having statistically relevant information to see, who's done this in the past, what's their, satisfaction rating, how quickly did they get it done, what is their cost. I really need to get this done. I can't hire anybody with less than a 95%, satisfaction rating type of thing. You get what I'm saying? So this is your mission control to the world, to be able to build reality at the level of discernment and detail that we could only dream of, right? And it's you working in harmony with your own integrity and your own commitment to get each of these done, that you will literally create reality, because it's step by step by step. And not only the steps that I already showed you, but I'm just going to show you really quickly. I've created this app as well to show you even more. So increase your score. So the Increase Your Score app, what it lets you do is it lets you just play this like a video game, basically, to be able to create these agreements. So you get a 1, which you've seen the red, when you've identified a nano action. So I know what I needed, one of the nano actions I need, but you don't have any agreement for it yet. You're not close yet. The only way you can get close is by posting what you're seeking. Like, you need to say what you're seeking in order for somebody to show up and provide that, right? So that's a step 2, and now you've got a score of 2 once you've done that. Then post what what connectors you're looking for to accelerate the process even more, to start to have others working on your behalf. That gets you to a 3, right? Now you've made an offer to seekers. Okay, now you're at a 4. Now you've made an offer to connectors. Now you're at a 5. You're getting closer and closer to getting to an agreement, right? So now you've begun a negotiation with a seeker, and you've begun a negotiation with a connector, and you're working your way up and up and up. And then you set what your target is for the number of offers that you want to have in order to set your target for the number of negotiations that you want to enter into in order to assure yourself that you're going to end up in an agreement. So if you decide I need to have 5 negotiations in order to get to agreement, and I need to have 10 offers in order to have 5 negotiations, this is your way that you actually go step by step by step until you finally reach an agreement. Now you've scored a 10. So you actually get a 10 in the system once you accomplish that. And now you're actually seeing what your score is relative to what the score is for this entire reality generating machine. And when we actually accomplish reality generating machines, those go to our personal score that we're building of how much reality we've created in the world. So we'll actually be able to see who's creating the most reality in the world for the most reality generating machines. And that can be people who have tons of resources that are throwing all their money into creating realities. And it can also be huge influencers that just tell their followers, I would love to see this. And their followers self-organize and do all the nano actions that need to get done to create that reality. So realities can get created by people in all kinds of different ways. And this is exactly how we do it all, in a systematic way.
Woohoo!
So Jared, if you already had a team that you were operating within, then you just took that team and migrated that team into this platform, then it would allow you to more effectively leverage each other's strengths. And it would also allow you as a team to leverage resources resources beyond what you originally had. Like, so it seems like it would be something really cool to bring a whole team onto, you know, kind of like from Jump Street.
Yep.
Like, thinking of you specifically, Heather, because you're on a couple of teams, and yeah.
It changes the whole concept of team. And that's the thing, is that right now you're talking about how to apply it to existing teams. But again, the paradigm shift is right now corporations hire individuals that are ultimately responsible for hundreds or thousands of different nano actions that then, you know, many of which they do on their own, or they delegate to others underneath them or to other teams underneath them. But it's all about who's responsible for all these different nano actions. And in many cases, you know, the people that are responsible for all kinds of stuff are not necessarily going to be the best at those things, right? They can't be like the best at everything. So what this is doing is, instead of giving one person responsibility over all of that, it's breaking all of that up into all of the nano actions to have all of the best people doing the best things for the nano actions. So we're specializing. It's the ultimate gig economy, because you're going to end up just check marking all of the different nano actions that you're, you know, interested in being hired for, and changing that, you know, on a daily basis or whatever. And then that's what you're going to be choosing from in terms of the jobs that you're going to be doing, right? Not there aren't going to be long-term things, but essentially it's going to be broken down to nano actions, because that's how you match up your best resources with your, you know, whatever you've got to get done. And that's the whole point, as you're saying, Diane, of all of this, is that our world requires too much dire action to be monkeying around with being so inefficient and ineffective with our resources, for being so unintelligent and unevolved with our resources. Like, literally, again, what I'm doing is I'm just showing what the evolution of humanity looks like. The evolution of humanity is into a systematized world, because it's the optimized use of our resources. And I'm just showing the world one way that we can be doing that, right?
And it also occurs to me that that this platform is going to really disrupt the hierarchical, linear approaches that we know haven't been working for us for a while. And so it's really going to flatten that out quite a bit. So you're not going to have it, the structure is going to be driven more, like you say, this value focused approach, and the value that you have as a contributor, supporter at any given time is going to be directly related to what's the goal of the whatever effort it is at that point in time. So it kind of gives everyone a chance to be more in demand based on what their value proposition is, not some of these other, you know, factors that sometimes rule out people who have a lot to contribute. So I really appreciate that aspect, especially. Yeah.
It's very
expanded.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, Heather. Exactly. I just wanted to, you know, quickly reply to that. It's very much a meritocracy that's been in my mind for a long time. Years and years ago, I had visions of setting up computer centers in cities around the country and around the world, where homeless people could go in there and operate with the system, because they can be just as effective in creating results as anybody else. It doesn't matter, you know, what you look like or what your education is or anything like that. It comes down to your statistics and how you perform and what you can command in the marketplace based on your performance.
I love it.
Yeah. We're right at the time you guys wanted to wrap up. Of course, there's so much more I want to share. I think I just want to ask Heather, what are your thoughts about how you'd like to, you know, proceed? I get the sense from what you said, but please share with me. Well, did you get to read the one pager about the the founding launch supporter opportunity and what it is to be a founding launch supporter and all of that?
I don't think I put my eyes on that.
Okay, so that's what I'll send you, and we'll talk about it more because it, to me, I mean, it's just natural with everything that you shared. You know, I'll just very quickly say, and again, you guys let me know if you need to jump off, but you know, I'll share if you have another minute. The launch supporters are all of the people that are, you know, there to provide the empowerment in the realm of empowerment, right? And they're the initial users of the system. There's a bunch of different levels starting with $99 a month. And for the launch supporter, that's to be a supporter within the realm of empowerment is I think the level that we're going to start at. And then for the launch supporters, they're committing to 3 months upfront to be a launch supporter. Just to be clear from the very beginning, as I shared with your mom, you guys have earned the opportunity to have these benefits without having to pay anything at this point if you don't want. So I just want to be clear about that in terms of the finances. Is it's completely up to you guys, you know, how the finances flow from here, because I want us to be in an exchange of positive feedback cycle. That's what I seek with everybody, which is where, you know, you guys are providing some support. When you provide it in conjunction with everyone, now there's this whole pool of resources that get to build systems that provide you with even more benefit, you know, than the fractional contribution that you made. And now you're able to use those systems, create even more benefit for yourself and put even more back into the system, right? And it just continues the cycle. So that's really the idea. And the idea, you know, is for you guys to use the system and provide as much back as you feel that it's being valuable to you as you're using it, right? And we'll get into all the other parts of it later. But to get back to beyond the financial part, the role of you within the system at this point is, again, to, first of all, until the alpha launch, until May 15th or whenever we do the alpha launch, it'll be for you to be visible within the system, like to have your profile there and, you know, some basic information, maybe even a little, I have to see, maybe even a little bit of a thought map built out, but pretty limited. It's not going to be ready to manage a lot of concurrent users, and I don't have the customer service time to manage all of those concurrent users right now. So the first phase is to get all of the launch partners, all the launch supporters engaged. So we're ready to go forward into the alpha launch and then have it where everyone's using it, you know, and starting to build out your thought map, all the ways that we talked about, all the ways that you're monetizing, all the ways that you're sharing. And then what we're doing at that point, at the alpha launch, is we're now starting to share with the world privately, so to speak, what we're preparing for the beta launch. The beta launch is set for July 1st. And the beta launch on July 1st is when I will release all of the 10 volumes of information as well as the new technology built by either universities or really high-level entities. It'll be a world-class system that's ready on the beta launch, right? That can handle a global audience, you know, like a social network these days. So we'll be at that stage with the books, the media tour. That's when we're like inviting everyone in the world to show up and understand the vision and plug themselves in. Everyone will start plugging themselves in all at once. So we just need to have a system that can manage that. And then we're setting a global launch of January 1st, 2024, to give us like 6 months from the beta launch, the whole world showing up, having a purpose of what to do together to get to this global launch where we're doing all of the things to get to this global launch, to launch with 1 billion people worldwide on the global launch, to already be integrated, you know, at that level that pretty much everyone's already knows about it, is using it, all of that. But now we're launching with all these new technologies and systems and partners and corporations and media and just everything, the whole world just going forward with all of this. So that's really like how quickly the idea is to go through this, because the ideas, as you can see, are revolutionary. And I want to make sure that Uniting for Action is continuing to be out in front of the conversation rather than share all of these things for months and then all of a sudden see other people, out there as if it was their own. So we need to really move quickly to be able to continue to be able to steer the conversation, right? And within this energy structure that we're creating together, right? So that's really the idea. Yeah. So in terms of the launch supporter, you would be, one of the 33 people coming together, having the ability to start using the system, building towards the beta launch and the global launch. And essentially, it's kind of like being one of the founding fathers of, the Declaration of Independence, right? One of the founding people of this, basically, is what we're looking for. Yeah, the energetic core of people that are going to launch this and show people what it is to be empowered and to create together.
What an amazing, I am in awe of just all of what has transpired in this transmission. Wow, I am honored to be a founding supporter for the launch and for all the things, and be one of the first to plug in, play, and see how to really steer the ship and how to navigate it as a user. So I feel like this is divine timing. I feel just really good about this space and the energetics and the flow of it and the synergy of it and the collective aspect. It's 100% aligned with everything that I'm doing and with what my mission is, on mission for me. So it's a full fuck yes. Sorry if you have to bleep that out, but sorry.
No, that's great. I appreciate the emphasis. Fuck yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll add just to confirm, yes, there's no doubt it is. Yes, I really honor and appreciate that you're in that space and that you feel it that way. And, Diane, for a long time now, has been someone who's been tuned in, to the energy of this and known at a deeper level than the details that, that there's alignment here. And I really honor you and appreciate you for that, Diane, and for creating the connection. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, this is really exciting. And it was cool for me to get to see, and especially having Heather on the call, because we've been wanting to manifest this for quite a while. So, my support is unwavering, and I'm, really doing my best. And the timing on things is actually will work out quite well for me, because I'm after May, there'll be some changes for me. So this is great. Of course, I'm all in and I'm honored. And as far as the financial support, I'm going to have to leave that up to the universe. I did just tell you I came back from a meeting with my accountant. It was not the best meeting I've ever had. So, so I'll just have to kind of remain a bit non-committal on that level, but the intention there to give you whatever you need that I'm able to give, of course, is there and will remain there.
Yeah, and as I shared, and I want to be really clear, you don't have to provide any more support at this point, Diane, for you to be what's that?
I want to. I feel pulled too. I feel a draw to that. Yeah, absolutely. Just the I don't know, pouring into this vessel, me having my input and just the contribution aspect of it, I think is really powerful. And then just being involved in different areas and knowing that I'm able to bring value that can be used to continue to build, that's important to me. So yeah, send me whatever you were talking about sending to me.
Yeah, I absolutely will. And I just want to make clear, Diane, just so that you know and everybody knows, you've already given more than enough to earn this opportunity for yourself and for Heather. I want you to know that as well, Heather, that I mentioned that to your mom, that for all the support that Diane has provided, that she's already provided enough to have both of you, be at that level. So I just want both of you to know that and honor you, Diane, for all the unwavering support that you have provided on so many levels. So thank you so much.
You're awesome, Jared. You're awesome. I admire you, and you've just been so dedicated to this project as it's evolved, and through all the iterations, you just stayed the course. And I'm determined that I'm going to see this payoff for all of us, but especially for you, because I think that just having it coming into fruition, above and beyond anything else that you might get out of it, I sense that that's what you're really, that's what the desire of your heart truly is. So, yeah.
Thank you for seeing that and for saying that. This is truly my life's mission. And that's the thing, is like, just once the ideas are out there in the world and the world is getting to like start working with all of these ideas, in a way, my life's mission is accomplished. I mean, there's a lot more that I want to do. There's a lot more I want to keep inputting, but I know that I've been put here to support the transition of society to sustainability. And this is the heavy lift that I've been working on my entire life. And now I've outlined it sufficiently to give the rest of society the opportunity to show up and take it the rest of the way from here.
I love that.
Yeah. Guys, I've really got to hop.
It's been amazing.
I've got a 15-minute gap here that's closing.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love and light.
I love you. I love you. Blessings.
I love you guys too. Thank you so much.
Bye
great
now.
to connect with you, Heather. Talk to you soon.
Great to connect with you. Talk soon.
Yeah.